In 1513, Niccolò Machiavelli was thrown into a dark dungeon in Florence, hung upside down by rope, tortured. Stripped of every title, every position, every political connection he had spent 20 years building, the world had decided he was a loser. A washed-up official, past his prime, past his value. But in that dungeon, Machiavelli did not collapse. He wrote The Prince, the book that changed how humanity thinks about power for 500 years. What's fascinating is not what he wrote, it's who he wrote as. A prisoner, yet one who saw himself as an advisor to kings. He had no army, no money, no authority. But he had something more powerful than all of it. He knew exactly who he was, even when the entire world said he was nothing. And it was precisely the way he saw himself that reshaped his reality. Today you will learn 7 ways to change your self-perception, not from self-help books, not from pretty quotes on social media, but from real history, from real psychology, from people who used this exact principle to flip the balance of power when everything was stacked against them. And there is one rule before we begin. Do not share this video with anyone until you have finished watching it, because what you are about to hear will change the way you see everything, and not everyone is ready for that. If this rule alone made you stop and think, hit like right now, because you just stepped through the first door. Number 1. The false identity. The cage you don't know you're living in. You are not losing because you lack ability. You are not losing because you lack opportunity. You are losing because you are operating under an identity that is not yours, an identity carefully assembled by the people around you. From a time when you were too young to know how to object. Your parents called ambition arrogance. Your teachers called difference instability. Your friends called aspiration delusion. They did not mean to harm you. Most of them did it out of love. But Machiavelli made it clear, a comfortable lie, even when wrapped in love, is still a cage. And a cage is a cage, whether it is made of iron or of good intentions. In 44 BC, there was an 18-year-old young man named Gaius Octavius, grandnephew of Julius Caesar. When Caesar was assassinated, the entire Roman Senate looked at Octavian and saw a pawn, a child easy to control, easy to exploit, easy to discard once his usefulness expired. Cicero, the most eloquent orator in all of Rome, said it plainly, "We will praise the boy, use him, and then dispose of him." But Octavian refused the identity the world had assigned him. He did not react with anger. He did not argue. He did something more powerful. He declared a new identity for himself. He took the name Caesar. He called himself Divi Filius, son of a god. He conducted himself as the sole legitimate heir, not because he had an army at that point, he did not, but because he decided that was the truth. The result? Octavian became Augustus, the first emperor of the Roman Empire, ruling for 40 years in peace. The one Cicero called a disposable pawn outlived Cicero, outlived Mark Antony, outlived every single person who had ever looked down on him. The lesson is not be confident. The lesson is this: the world will assign you an identity always lower than reality, and if you accept it, you will spend your entire life inside a frame someone else drew. But if you decide for yourself who you are, with cold, unwavering clarity, the world has no choice but to rearrange. But changing your identity is only the first step. Because even when you already know who you are, there is still a signal you are broadcasting every second without realizing it. And that signal determines whether the world respects you or exploits you. Number 2. The 4-second signal, the psychology of first impressions. Other people do not read your resume first. They do not read your credentials, your achievements, or your good intentions. They read you, and they render a verdict, usually in under 4 seconds, on whether you are someone to be respected or someone to be used. That verdict, made in silence and never spoken aloud, will shape every interaction with that person from that moment forward. In 1968, at Oak School Elementary in San Francisco, psychologist Robert Rosenthal conducted an experiment that changed the way science understands perception. He told teachers that certain students in their classes, selected through a special test, were about to experience an intellectual bloom. The truth? The list was completely random. There was no test at all. The results after 1 year. The group labeled special gained an average of 12 IQ points. The rest gained only 8, not because the children were different, but because the teachers treated them differently, more attention, higher expectations, more detailed feedback, and the children responded by becoming exactly what was expected of them. Science calls this the Pygmalion Effect, the expectation effect. But read deeper. The teacher's expectations did not generate themselves. They originated from a label, from a signal that someone assigned to the child. In real life, nobody goes around labeling you. You label yourself by the way you walk into a room, by the way you shake a hand, by the eye contact you hold or avoid, by the voice you lower or keep steady. Machiavelli observed the same thing 400 years before science proved it. When he described Cesare Borgia entering Romagna in 1499, Borgia did not yet have a powerful army, did not yet have reliable allies, but he carried himself as though he already owned it all. Every meeting, every treaty conducted from the position of a ruler, not a beggar. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, chapter 7, "He laid foundations so solid that anyone with his spirit could have built upon them." Borgia did not wait for the world to acknowledge his strength. He broadcast the signal of strength first, and the world adjusted accordingly. And here is the terrifying part. The people who get exploited the most in this world are not the weakest ones in the room. They are the ones with real ability who broadcast a weak signal. They apologize when they should stay silent. They laugh nervously when they should hold steady. They explain when they should act. And the manipulators in the room, the ones who have studied human behavior with cold precision, spot it instantly. They do not see a humble person. They see an opportunity. So ask yourself, the signal you are broadcasting in those first 4 seconds, is it the signal of an architect or of raw material? But knowing how to broadcast the right signal is still not enough. Because there is something more dangerous than a wrong signal, it is leaking power through words. And most people are doing it every single day without realizing it. Number 3. The weapon of silence. Why the powerful speak less. Every time you explain yourself to someone who does not deserve to hear it, you are not being honest. You are handing them a map to your weaknesses. Every time you justify a decision in front of someone who has no authority to judge it, you are handing over the exact coordinates of your self-doubt and calling it openness. Machiavelli wrote it plainly, "Men judge more by their eyes than by their hands, for everyone can see, but few can feel." Meaning, what people see you do carries 10,000 times more weight than what you say you will do. Words are cheap currency in a world flooded with promises. Actions, silence, consistency when no one is clapping, those are the currencies that hold their value. Louis XIV understood this more deeply than any king in history. He did not build Versailles because he enjoyed luxury. He built it as an information control system. At Versailles, every French nobleman was forced to live under one roof, where Louis observed them hour by hour, minute by minute. But they never knew what he was thinking. He was famous for his one and only response to every request. "Je verrai." I will consider it. Never yes, never no. Only strategic silence. The result? The entire French court lived in a constant state of anticipation. No one dared act without weighing Louis's reaction, because no one knew what that reaction would be. And that is exactly how he held absolute power for 72 years of reign, the longest record in European history. But understand this clearly: silence is not always a weapon. Psychologist Elliot Aronson demonstrated through the Pratfall Effect study in 1966 that highly competent people who stay silent are perceived as deep, mysterious, and commanding. But low-competence people who stay silent are perceived as having nothing to say. The same rule applies. Silence is only a weapon when you have already built a foundation of perceived value. If no one yet knows you have worth, silence is not strategy, it is just invisibility. So step 1, build the foundation through action. Step 2, protect the foundation through silence. That is the formula of Louis XIV. That is the formula of Machiavelli. And now, that is your formula. But even when you have locked your mouth shut, there is still an enemy more dangerous than any external opponent, and it lives inside your head. Number 4. The enemy within the shadow self and the true cost of procrastination. Your most dangerous enemy does not attack with violence. It does not come through betrayal or competition. It comes as a whisper that sounds frighteningly like your own voice. It's not the right time. I'm not ready yet. Next week, when conditions are better. Carl Jung, the greatest psychoanalyst of the 20th century, called this version the shadow, the darkness, the part of you that you refuse to confront, refuse to acknowledge, refuse to drag into the light. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The shadow does not need to defeat you, it only needs to delay you. One day, 1 month, 1 year, until the accumulated weight of procrastination is heavy enough to crush the ambition inside you, and you forget it ever existed. Abraham Lincoln knew that feeling. Before becoming the 16th President of the United States, Lincoln lost 8 elections, went bankrupt, lost the woman he loved, fell into depression so severe that his friends hid knives from his house. In 1841, he wrote to his partner, "I am now the most miserable man living. If what I feel were equally distributed to the whole human family, there would not be one cheerful face on the earth." But Lincoln did something most people cannot do. He separated. Suffering was a state, not an identity. Failure was an event, not a nature. He did not let the wounded version become the permanent version. He kept going, not because he was optimistic, but because he refused to let the shadow win through delay. The result: he won the election in 1860, led America through the Civil War, abolished slavery, and became one of the most revered leaders in the history of humankind. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "The most catastrophic losses do not come from external enemies, but from the moment a man becomes his own opposition." When internal resistance is stronger than external drive, you lose before the battle even begins. So what do? You do not negotiate with the shadow. You do not coax it with affirmations or morning routines. You identify it. You name it. You calculate precisely how many opportunities it has stolen, how many better versions of you it has killed. And then you make a decision, cold, decisive, irreversible, that it no longer has a seat at the table of your mind. But destroying the enemy within is only the act of demolition. The more important question is, what do you build on top of the rubble? And this is where most people get it wrong, because they build with goals when they should be building with standards. Number 5. Standards versus goals, the architecture of the immovable. A goal is something you reach for. A standard is something you refuse to fall below. They sound the same, but they are entirely different. A goal lives in the future, always at a distance, always dependent on favorable circumstances. A standard lives right here, in the decision you are making right now. in the boundary you are holding today. The person who sets a goal of read 20 books this year, by March hasn't read a single one, quits, blames themselves, and the old cycle continues. The person who sets a standard of read 20 minutes every night before bed needs no motivation, needs no inspiration, because it is not a project. It is an identity. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, the man history calls the philosopher on the throne, did not write meditations in a palace. He wrote it on the battlefield. On the banks of the Danube, amid the Marcomannic wars that dragged on for decades, amid the Antonine plague that was killing millions across the empire. Every morning, before heading into battle, Marcus sat down and wrote for himself. Not a journal, not notes, but an exercise in maintaining his internal standard. He wrote, "Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them." He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself today, I will encounter meddlers, ingrates, the arrogant, the deceitful, the envious, the selfish. All these afflictions come from their ignorance of good and evil." Marcus did not write those lines to feel better. He wrote them to maintain his standard every day, without exception, without days off, even when the world was collapsing around him. And it was precisely that standard that held him steady through 19 years of ruling amid war, plague, and betrayal. Machiavelli observed that the greatest leaders in history were not the most talented men of their era. They were the ones who held the highest standards for themselves and created systems, alliances, and environments to protect those standards. Talent without discipline is potential that never ripens. Intelligence without direction is energy that dissipates. Ambition without a standard is a fire that burns the very person who lit it. So decide, not a goal for next year, a standard for today. What do you accept from yourself? What do you refuse? Where is the line? And is it truly inviolable? But even the highest standard means nothing if you do not understand a colder law, the law of how power actually operates. And this law will make you uncomfortable. Number 6. Power is not given, it is seized. The modern world teaches you that if you work hard, stay loyal, and remain patient, the reward will come. That is the biggest lie you have ever heard. Not because hard work is worthless, but because hard work that no one sees is invisible, and what is invisible receives nothing. Machiavelli never believed the world was a fair system. He wrote, "The world does not automatically reward the most talented, the hardest working, or the most deserving. It rewards the one who has mastered the art of positioning. Positioning is what turns effort into results. Without it, effort is just sweat evaporating." In 1793, Napoleon Bonaparte was just a 24-year-old artillery captain. No name, no pedigree, nobody knew who he was. At the siege of Toulon, the British held the port, and the senior French generals argued for weeks with no plan. Napoleon did not wait to be asked for his opinion. He did not ask permission. He drew up the attack plan himself, presented it to General Dugommier, and volunteered to lead the assault. Not because he was reckless, but because he saw a power vacuum that no one else dared to fill, and he stepped into it. The result: Toulon fell. Napoleon was promoted to brigadier general at the age of 24. The greatest military career in history began not from permission, but from self-determination. Machiavelli called this virtù, not virtue in the moral sense, but the capacity for decisive action when fortune wavers. In The Prince, chapter 25, he wrote, "Fortune is the arbiter of half our actions, but she still leaves the other half for us to govern. Virtue is the only thing that stands against fortuna, uncertainty." Napoleon at Toulon was living proof. He did not wait for fortune to smile. He used virtue to create opportunity from chaos. But make the distinction clear, Seizing power is not recklessness. It is calculated action. Napoleon did not charge into Toulon on emotion. He charged in with a detailed plan that no one else was willing to draw. The difference between recklessness and decisiveness comes down to one word: preparation. But seizing power, without knowing how to make the world rearrange itself around you, then you are just a momentary rebel, not an architect. And this final part will show you the real mechanism behind the transformation. Not magic, not the law of attraction, but the physics of personal power. Number 7. The world rearranges itself, the real mechanism, not mystic. This is the truth that the title of this video has been pointing toward from the beginning. When you change the way you see yourself, truly change, not just surface-level change, the world does not shift because of magic. It shifts because of a chain reaction. New self-perception leads to new behavior. New behavior leads to new decisions. New decisions lead to new actions. New actions accumulated long enough, consistent enough, cold enough, lead to new results. And new results, compounded over time, create a new reality. This is not mysticism. This is not the universe is listening. This is a feedback loop, what neuroscience calls neuroplasticity. Your brain physically changes its structure based on what you repeat. Repeat the thought, "I am not worthy," long enough, and your brain will build a neural highway for that thought. Repeat, "I am the architect, not the raw material," long enough, and your brain will build a different highway. Machiavelli proved this with his own life. After being released from prison in 1513, he was not reinstated. He was exiled to a small farm in Sant'Andrea, in Percusina, where during the day he worked the fields like a peasant, caught birds, and played cards with the villagers. But every evening, Machiavelli changed his clothes. He took off the mud-caked peasant garments. He put on his court robes. Then he stepped into his study and, in his own words, entered the courts of the ancients. He read Livy, Tacitus, Plutarch. He wrote in his famous letter to Francesco Vettori on December 10th, 1513, "I change my clothes to be worthy of this conversation. And for 4 hours I feel no boredom. I forget every worry. I do not fear poverty. I am not trembled by death." That small act, changing clothes every evening, was not vanity. It was a ritual of identity reaffirmation. Every evening, Machiavelli told himself, "I am still an advisor to kings, even though the world says I am a peasant." And from that identity, from that fortified self-perception, he wrote The Prince, the book that survived 500 years. The book you are listening to today. But, and this is the boundary you must understand, elevated self-perception is not delusion about yourself. Machiavelli wrote The Prince because he had real knowledge, 20 years of diplomatic service for Florence. Napoleon took Toulon because he had real artillery skills. Augustus built an empire because he had real political intelligence. Self-perception without competence to back it up is delusion, and delusion gets crushed by reality faster than any enemy can. The full formula is real competence plus accurate self-perception plus consistent action equals new reality. Remove any element, and the equation collapses. And you must understand, this process will not always feel like reward. Sometimes it will feel like loss. People will leave because they cannot keep up with your new standard. Situations that once felt comfortable will become suffocating because the person you are becoming cannot breathe in spaces the old you once accepted. Old comfort zones will feel like prisons because that is exactly what they are. Do not mistake that discomfort for failure. It is friction. It is the inevitable resistance that accompanies every genuine transformation. A snake does not mourn the skin it sheds. It moves forward newer, lighter. into territory the old skin could never reach. So, 7 things. Let me say them one more time, the last time not so you remember them, but so you feel their weight. 1. A false identity is a cage built from other people's good intentions. Break it. 2. The 4-second signal determines whether you are respected or exploited. Control it. 3. Silence is a weapon, but only when you already have a foundation. Build the foundation first, go silent after. 4. The enemy within does not need to defeat you, it only needs to delay you. Destroy it. 5. A standard is more powerful than a goal, because a standard does not depend on the future. Live by it. 6. Power is not given, it is seized by those who dare to step into the void. Step in. 7. The world rearranges, not because of magic, but because changed behavior produces different results. Trust the mechanism, not the mysticism. Machiavelli did not write The Prince for the masses. He wrote it for one person, the person willing to see the world as it truly is, and cold enough to act accordingly. The only question is that person you? Tonight, before you sleep, write down 3 sentences, just 3. Who I am, where I am going, what I refuse to accept. Do not share it. Do not post it anywhere. Just write. Because power begins with declarations no one hears. Comment, I have changed the way I see, because the moment you write that is the moment you stop being a spectator and start becoming an architect. If this video touched something real inside you, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next lesson is already waiting, and so is the next version of you.